Get my, I have to get my, oh, there we go. All right. Welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for taking time out and doing it.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So like the first question I want to start out asking you is like, who did you love watching on television growing up? Like the ones who inspired you to want to wrestle.
Well, growing up, I started watching wrestling when I was 9. So I chimed in mid Attitude Era. So my favorites growing up had to be the Hardys, Lita, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Those were big, big people. I watched all the Attitude Era. So all the women in the Attitude Era were big influences for me. Lita, Trish, Jazz, Jackie, all of them. I loved all of them watching growing up. Then, as I started getting a little older, wanting to take my wrestling career further, it was definitely the time era when Sasha, Charlotte, Bailey, all of them, Becky, really got a jump start for the women's division and developing it more. So they were big influences for my wrestling career as well.
Oh wow, okay, nice. And when you were like a a fan growing up, wrestling fan, do you remember what your first wrestling show was that you went to live?
Oh, that's a tough one. I never, when I was younger, I never got to go to a live show. I don't think I ever really I knew wrestling, but I didn't know wrestling that much. I went probably to my first live show. I want to say it had before 2015. So I'm gonna go with 2013, maybe 2014. It was
Okay.
a Raw show. I went with my friends, with two of my friends who actually helped get my wrestling name started. Will and Michael. We still talk about wrestling to this day. But I went to my first SmackDown or Raw with them, and that had to have been maybe like 2000. I want to say maybe 2012, 2013.
Wow,
And it was
okay,
great.
no.
It was great. There's nothing like your first live show too. We were kind of further up. So 2015, when I started training, my trainer had tickets and he couldn't go to the show. And those tickets were better because they were SmackDown and we were commentary. So that was another pretty cool experience. The seats were way better in that one.
Yes, definitely. It it's always more fun when the seats are close. Even when you go see like a band or artist, like the closer you are to the stage, the more you feel it.
Yeah, the more you feel the vibe. And just having them that close at the time when I was first starting to wrestle was like really inspirational because I could really focus and watch everything from a different aspect as well. Because I had already started kind of training at that time as well.
Okay. So who was the one that trained you? Like what wrestling school did you go to?
So I started training. I reached out. I was looking for wrestling schools, and at the time, La Rosa Negra was running a school in Miami. I was born and raised in Miami. That's where I did my training. So I found La Rosa. We started training. She went to Japan at that time, and then unfortunately, she had her 2 knee injuries there. So she gave me all the information for my trainer that I train with now, JB Cool. He goes by JB Cool, and he runs Fighting Evolution Wrestling. Did we? Oh, I thought you
Okay.
froze. He runs Fighting Evolution Wrestling. So I started then with him after La Rosa sent me to him because she wasn't going to be able to train me because she was injured. And then he had just opened up his school and I started training with him. And then the rest was history. Fast forward now, I still
Oh,
talk to him to this day. We still talk, him and I and La Rosa. I always still talk to them if I have any questions or just doubts or anything about the business. I always talk to them as well.
oh, sweet. And when you were actually training, like going through the school, like the first time you took a bump, like how did your body get used to taking bumps and running the ropes and getting like the rope burn and all that stuff? And
I tell I tell everyone I still remember it. There's so many things that happen from when I started training all the way till now that like I can skip through. I don't really remember. You never forget your first day of training. My first day, I went hard. I remember waking up the next morning and I felt like I got hit by like a mad truck. Like it was epic. My whole neck was sore, my back was sore because I had never bumped before. I'm a lot shorter than everybody else, so the middle rope always gets me like in my lower back. Like it
oh,
was bad, but I contemplated like, I don't know if I want to do this. But I remember when I went to training, my trainer was always like, oh, people never come back after the first day. And my pride was so hard that I was just like, I'm not going to be that person. Like, this is what this business is going to be like. It's just hard. It's the first time I'm doing it. And he didn't mention like it gets better with time. So I just like, I came back and he was really shocked because he says all the time. Yeah, he says all the time. I came in, I was so thin, I was so small. And he was like, oh, there's no way that she's going to stick around. Like, I don't think this is for her. To this day now, being in AEW and seeing how far I went, we laugh about it all the time. Because I was like, you didn't even think I had it in me. And he's like, I'm not going to lie, I really didn't. But I came back day after day after day. But the morning after my first practice, you question it. I think there's no way people don't question it. I mean, if you were bumping as hard as I was, but I questioned it. But I said, nope, this is what it takes. If I wake up like this and I can't take it, then I'm not meant to be in the business.
True. I remember Hogan was telling a story like when he first went to wrestling training, the guy literally broke his leg, and
Oh no.
he was like, "Oh, this guy's not coming back." And then after Hogan healed his leg, I think it was like six months later, and he showed back up to the school, and that's when they trained him.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want anyone to break my leg. But my trainer said the same thing. He thought like every day that came back, he was a little harder and he pushed a little more to see what I can do. And he was really shocked because I wasn't really afraid of anything. I was like, especially that wrestling was so new at the time. Like for me, like when something's really, really new, I'm all in. I'm all in all the time. But it was so new. I was so excited. So no one was going to convince me that I couldn't do it because people were already saying I couldn't do it. I was too small. What was I thinking? And I was like, that's all you guys negative ideas. And to this day now, people tell me, I can't believe you went through with it. And I was like, yeah. And all those people that were saying I couldn't do it, I promise you, a lot of them that were like my friends messaged me to this day. And I was like, yeah, that's why I surpassed people. And there was people training longer than I had. And I surpassed them because if I want to do something, there's nobody who's going to tell me that I can't do it. So
That's so awesome. I love that. And I saw like before you made it to where you're at now, like you won a belt, the FEW belt, and how did it feel to be a champion for the first time?
I always go back every time, like I get to a point in my career where like a lot of things have changed. I always go back. I watch pictures, I watch videos, and I came across the first time I got the belt. So when I first started training, I was one of the only girls there. So I was like helping set up the ring. I was doing like a lot at the time. And we had a show and Teddy Long was at that show. And he told me afterwards, after that, he had talked to my trainer and was like, I was the first girl at the venue. There was a bunch of guys. I was the only girl helping pick up stuff, putting the ring together. I was telling people how to put the ring together and all this stuff. And he asked him like, hey, who's this girl? And he was like, she's one of my main girls. She's been here for a while. She's been training. Like, she's really, really good. And he just kept kind of watching and stuff like that. And he was like, well, if she's been here for a bit and she's doing all these things, she's a good face to represent your company. I think you should put the belt on her. Time-wise, I think the belt was more because how dedicated I was and more like a thank you that you're doing this with us and just to kind of help me keep going. The belt wasn't because I was still very new, very, very new. But I think he really helped boost his women's division, help have more people come because it was maybe like already 2 months in and he hadn't scared me off. So we did the match. I had already had my first match, so I'm lying. I might have been like 6 months in maybe. Oh, okay. And the match was against Rebel and Mia Yim, who at the time she was still Jade from TNA. So yes. I wrestled with them and we did a 3-way and no one had told me anything. So we did the match, everything. I won the match, but I was like, okay, I guess I'm winning because like I'm part of the school or whatever. I don't know. I beat them 1, 2, 3, and then everything was done. I was celebrating, and then they had Teddy Long come out, and then he surprised me, and he was like, "We didn't tell anyone in the match, but the match was actually a women's title match." And then he brought out the belt, and I took it. I didn't even cry because I was just so shocked. It was like Teddy Long giving me the belt, so I was like, "Oh my god!" But I look at it now, and I was like, Times wise, I should not have been champion because I was still very new. But I think it was the fact that like he saw the potential, my trainer saw the potential, and now look at me, years now, they're always so happy, and I talk to them and everything like that. But I think it was more of how dedicated I was to the school and to the business, and I think they both agreed I would have been a good face for the company for the women. So that was pretty cool. I've held the other titles after I joined AEW a while back. I went back to FEW and I actually won that belt again.
Oh,
But because I was on the road, there was a specific person that was there more than me. Her name's Maserati, and she's great. I love her. She's such a hard worker. So after I won the belt, I wrestled her. I won the belt. And then a couple months after, I just knew I couldn't commit to being here all the time. So I wrestled her and she took it off of me, and it was great because she really deserved it. So, and I'm not a belt hog. Like I knew that was my home company. I'm always going to go back, but AEW was really kicking in at the time and I just could not commit. So I didn't want to hold the belt hostage. So I was like, let's just have a match. I'll drop it. And she got it, but she well deserved. So, but the first match, I mean, the first belt is great, but I don't think it'll be like if I win, not if, when I win a title at AEW. I think that will be, it will mean way more because I know how hard I worked. At that time, it was more like a thank you, a gift, a push, a motivation, but I didn't know what it was to hold a title or the caliber of holding a title and leading the division. I've now learned that as my journey, but it was still great. It was still a moment to remember, but I can't wait to hold some gold now because now I'm, well developed, nourished. I've been in it for a while and it'll mean so much more.
well, hey, Jade finally lost the belt, so now you could go in and take the belt off of Chris Stat.
I would have taken it off of her anyways. She got lucky that Stat got to her before I did, right after I did, but I would take it off her even if she had it. I never get tired of wrestling her, and I'm gonna wrestle her. I will wrestle her until I beat her, belt or not.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like you actually tried out before for WWE for Tough Enough, right?
Yes, correct. That's actually
wow, okay.
that's actually how wrestling for me got started because I was a professional dancer before I started wrestling. So you grow up and you grow out of the phase. At the time too, wrestling is like, oh, that's just for kids. That's just so you grow up. I started dancing and dancing was a big part of my life and it took over a lot. So I stopped watching wrestling. And one day I clicked the channel on out of curiosity. I was just kind of going through the channels. I was like, and Triple H was announcing, like he was on camera and he was like, we're about to have a show named Tough Enough, which I always think that everything happens for a reason. So as I clicked the channel to come up on that instead of like a match, and what stuck out to me was I wasn't wrestling yet, but I was like, oh my God, I haven't watched wrestling in a long time. Let's watch this. And they announced like to do the show or try out for the show, you just had to be tough. You did not have to have wrestling experience. So that's what really like drew me in. Because if you had to have wrestling experience, I would be like, okay, I can't do it. I've watched it, but I never wrestled. So they said you didn't have to have wrestling experience, that they'd start that and all that. So I jumped on it. I did the video. My two friends that I said earlier, Will and Michael, were there when I filmed it. I filmed it in Will's backyard. And I had just dyed my hair red, a big life-changing breakup. So I was like, I'm just gonna change. And I had my hair super, super red. I show up to his house and he's like, all right, let's do this. They've been huge wrestling fans. And we get there and we're gonna film. And he's like, so you have a wrestling name, right? And I was like, no, I don't. And he was like, come on. He's like, there's no way you could do this promo video without having a wrestling name. I think of stuff. And I said, oh, what about maybe like Red Violet? Because that was like my going out drunk alter ego. My friends gave me kind of thing, that name. And then he was like, that's corny. It's never going to stick. I don't like it. And he was like, why not Red Velvet? Because it's a cake. You're sweet. Your skin is nice, like chocolate. Your hair is super, super red. And I was like, yeah, it kind of sticks. Like it was nice. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I did the video and they showed my audition tape the next week on SmackDown. And then I had a Skype interview. So I got moved to the second level of the audition. I did the Skype. And then, which everything is such a learning experience. The casting lady was like, all right, you need to send me some professional pictures. I had not taken ever professional pictures. So I just I sent her what I had. And like, you could just tell that like I was ready to go on the show, but I didn't know like about the business, about just having like professional photos, headshots, all that stuff. I learned so much just even like with trying out, because okay, now I'm like, okay, I gotta get professional shots. I can't. So I didn't make it on the show, but as the weeks went by, they were showing the videos and they were having like people vote and all this stuff. So I got that second interview. I didn't make it on the show. I still went on to watch the whole show. I wanted to watch like what it was, I've done it and all that. But the buzz was really big. And like everyone that knew me was like, you have to wrestle. Are you going to wrestle? I know you didn't make it on the show, but are you going to wrestle? And that's like what kind of motivated me to get started with wrestling. So even though I didn't make it on the show, I could still thank them and thank the universe for having had me pop that up. Cause it actually got me thinking like, okay, can I really do this for real? Cause my thoughts were like, okay, I don't have any training. I'll get on the show. Maybe the show will help out. I'll join WWE, whatever. And that's not how it happened, but it pushed me to get started.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
it was pretty fun. I sometimes come up on that video sometimes and I'm like, oh, it was terrible. Like it was so terrible. I didn't know, but you know, it's good to see, always go back and see. It was a funny video, but it was just so it was cringe. It's cringe to me now because it was like it wasn't bad, but it was just like you can tell I had no idea. I was so new. So new.
Okay. So like how did you come up with with the with the with the
The
hand
hand
gesture?
gesture. I never take credit for this. Every interview, I always have to give credit to Will and Michael, my two friends, because they gave me Red Velvet, and then JB, my trainer. Once I got into the school, I just stuck with it. So I was like, hey, like he saw me, he saw I did the little tryout thing, he saw my name was Red Velvet. So he's just like, he's great with coming up with stuff. So we were joking around, and he gave me like to be billed out of Straight Out of Your Mama's Kitchen, because we were joking around one day and I was like, okay, am I going to be billed from Miami, Florida? Like, I want to be different. The reason I stuck with Red Velvet was because growing up, I watched Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and their names weren't like their regular names. They were like these big out of this world, The Undertaker, out of this world, just different. And that always stuck by me. I never wanted to be like first name, last name, like, because how do you develop your character? How do you give it more depth? So I was like, okay, Red Velvet allows me to step away from Stephanie, from who I really am, and just bring this larger than life persona. So he came up with being Straight Out of Your Mama's Kitchen, and then we just kind of got going. So he was like, Red Velvet's a cake, so what do you like to do? I actually really love to bake. So he's like, we're gonna stick with that. Let's just keep going. And we kept throwing stuff. And we were watching, he was watching basketball one day, and he was like, James Hart James Harden, basketball. I don't. Oh my God, please. Yes. I'm not sure if I butcher this. I don't watch basketball that much. I'm pretty sure it was James Harden. He might chop my head off if he sees this, but he every time he scored, he was like stirring it up. He'd do the stir up. So like he saw him do that, and my trainer was like, "You're a chef. Like you're a chef. You stir, you bake. Like you should make that like." Your thing, you know. And we were watching basketball at the time. That's why I'm like, please, James, if you see this, like I didn't mean to butcher your name if I butchered it. But that he was my inspiration. And I also was hoping like if it got really big, like maybe he'd shout me out or like come do it with me or shoot a video with me. And then we saw like people send me all the time, like other like sports people do it and baseball and basketball and stuff. And it's kind of just like a hype thing. Like, all right, when you do your thing, like you gotta stir it up, like it's about to go down. So that's how it goes. I actually used to, it was called like serve it up. Like I'm going to serve you up. And then Taz on commentary started saying she's stirring it up. So I got to thank Taz, honestly, for like the stir it up. Because I used to in the indies just serve it up. Like I'm about to serve you up. But he started saying stir it up. And I was like, it kind of sticks and I kind of like it. So I'm about to stir it up. I got to stir it up to serve it up. So that's where I'm going with it. But my trainer was just like really big on like just helping me get it together. And all started as a joke and fun and games. And then I was like, well, it really does stick because I love to bake. I'm a chef. Velvet is smooth and elegant. And that's how I try to maintain myself in the ring until now that I'm doing more boxing style from like my background. My dad used to be a boxer. So, but I got to give it up to my friends. The people that know me the most are a piece of why Red Velvet is Red Velvet. So I got to give them that credit. I can't take credit for that.
Wow. Okay. And when you joined AEW, like I think one of your biggest bouts ever was you teaming up with Cody Rhodes against Shaq and Jade. And that was huge because you got this huge name like Shaq coming into into the wrestling world, and he did an amazing job. Like that match was really good.
Yeah, he did an amazing job. Prior to that match, one thing he said that stuck out to me that I thought was great, he was like, I really want to put my all into this because I don't want anyone to watch this match and say that I didn't try. Because him not trying is almost like he would be disrespecting the business. But he came in, he respected everything that we did and everything that had to do with the match. And I think he's great. He was so funny. I love Shaq. He played for Miami Heat. So, you know, I already had a love for him there. But he was great. He really did put his all into it. And I respect that because coming from a different business, like, you know, he respected what we did. And I thought it was a great time. It actually started like, I didn't know I was not supposed to be in the match. Obviously, it was supposed to be Brandy and she got pregnant. So I'm going to assume it was like conjunction between like Cody, Brandy, and everyone to see who could fit the part. So I'm very grateful that they chose me. At the time, I was not signed to AEW when that match happened. So being picked to be in such a big caliber match and not being fully part of the locker room was a blessing. And I think it was a great way of showing Tony that I was going to have the possibility of being an important part of their women's roster. And I'll never forget that night. The match was very big. So I didn't realize how big it was in hindsight now. I was so into just wanting to wrestle, being happy to be at AEW, but it was almost like a test for me because if I could not deliver, I don't think I would have gotten hired. It was almost like a tryout match for me, but no one said it, but it felt that way. But I just came into it like full force, just excited for it, just that how big the match was. But I never realized until now how big it really was. And the first thing, of course, it was centered more around like, I was not in the company, but I was about to face one of the biggest people that they were going to introduce to their roster, which was Jade. No one had seen Jade wrestle either. So it was a big, big match for her because it was her first television match. And now she's across the ring from me. So it was, you know, like, okay, this is a big deal. And then Shaq being in the match. So the fact that Shaq was there too brought a lot of highlight into the match. And as I got in the ring and I was super nervous, I shook Cody's hand and he whispered in my ear and he said, don't let anyone tell you that this match isn't about you as well. And that just like really like set, because, you know, the match had Shaq in it and stuff. So people I could have easily been forgotten about. And I think he wanted to make sure that I remembered like, this is your moment as well. And that just helped me. And that was a night I'll never forget. It was crazy because it was such a hectic day. I was so nervous. There was so much going on. And the only regret I have on that day is not taking like a tag team picture with Cody. I will never have that now, you know? So I was just like, oh, I can't believe. I even took a picture with Shaq, but just like, I wish before the match, there wasn't so much going on because I would have loved to just really have a picture to like remember that moment. I have a picture of like us in the ring shaking hands and when he told me that, but still it would have been a good, you know, he jokes about it and talks all the time. Like we could have gotten a twin pack action figure. I was like, oh, I know, you know, Tony, maybe you still make it, you know, but
hey, yeah, they could still make, even though Cody's with the WWE now, that was still part
right.
of
That was still a monumental match. So, but no matter what, pictures or not, you know, I still look back. I watch that match all the time now. I watch back a lot of my matches all the time because it's a growing point. It's a point of, it's very humbling. It lets you know where you were, where you are now, where you need to go. And every time I do a signing, like fans always just bring up that match. So it'll always be one of my memorable moments and a moment that people really knew who I was. Cause that's like where I came out. I did that intro. We got in that fight, Jade and I in Britt's dentist office. It was just very, very memorable. So I hope I have many more matches in my career with AEW that are as special as that one was. Cause that one was unforgettable.
Yeah, it definitely was. And like speaking of Jade, like a lot of your stuff in AEW was with Jade, like your friends, your foes, you joined the group, the
Baddies.
baddies, and so like how was your time working with Jade as both friend and foe?
I think as much as like I hate to say it, like not in a bad way, everyone has that foe that will be their friend and their foe at times in their relationship, but no matter what they're glued, it's Jade for me. It'll always be because if we had that first match, we had our second match. She was the first person I wrestled when we were doing that TBS tournament championship. So we were like foes up until that time. Then, you know, things switched gears and I was working with her. So I got to be her friend, get to know her, do crazy stuff with her in the baddies, and then switch back and say, you know what? No, you're bossing these girls around. I got to go back to what's right. And we're going to be, you know, I think I've had a blast all through out of it. Foe, friend, all of it. And I think she's just kind of like, she's the Trish to my Lita, kind of like, that's just a person that will always be my number one rival. And my friend as well. We are actually twins. We have the exact same birthday, June 3rd, 1992. We were born. The only difference is I have to ask, I'm not sure which one of us was born first. So which one is like the oldest? But literally we say that like she's the devil to the angel. I'm like the angel and she's like the devil on my shoulder. Yeah, that's Jade. That'll always be us. Like yin yang, but kind of like complete. We're Gemini, so like I say she's like the bad Gemini, and I'm like the nicer one that thinks stuff she'll just do. Perfect. Like I swear it's not even, I can't even make it up or write it. Sometimes the best rivalries and stuff, they just happen organically, and it just happened to be organic. It wasn't until we did the matches and got to know each other that we're like, oh my God, like we were born same day. It had only Jade and I'm telling you, I laugh about it all the time because I'm like, we're twins. Sometimes we're great, we're best friends. Sometimes we hate the shit out of each other. And you know, let's see. I'm excited to see now that she's lost the belt, like when she comes back, what she's gonna do. Does she want to be a friend again or a foe? I'm ready for whatever, but you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it too.
Same.
And you also like a couple other big things happen you in AEW, like you and Britt, you were the main event of the first ever AEW Rampage, and you also had an action figure made too.
Yes, I was going through again my pictures, and my fans always send me stuff. A couple days ago, it was actually 2 years from when Britt and I debuted first ever Rampage. It'll be something I'll never forget because you know they put it in Pittsburgh, the worst case for me, but still, it was a great match. We had a great time. History building. You know, again, I always think that like I'm just so focused on wrestling that sometimes it works to my benefit because I can block out how big things are, and it just keeps me like in a certain center. Because if I were to have just focused on like this is a main event, this is first ever, oh my God, we're in Pittsburgh, like I probably would have shit the bed. But I've done a great job at just like really trying to be present at the moment. And then after, just kind of like when I watch it back now, I'm like, oh my God, like no matter what, like the first ever episode of Rampage, I'm the main event. And you know, I didn't win, but we still made history. Women main eventing first ever. I'll do it all over again. Heck, let's do it again. Britt and I put her in Pittsburgh. I don't even care. I'll do whatever. They want to boo me out. I'll give them a reason to boo me out of Pittsburgh.
Definitely. And I see our times come up. I'm gonna ask two final questions, but it has nothing to do with wrestling. I always ask guests this when they're on. First is I'm a huge horror fan, and are there any horror movies that you like to watch?
I'm not a horror movie fan. I will watch them when I get a chance, but I'm not on Allie's level. She is the guru of horror action movies.
Oh, she is.
Growing up, I watched a lot of like a lot of the Jason movies, Michael Myers. I love those type, but I'm not the biggest fan of like scary movies. I really just not dislike. I'm scared to watch ones that have to do with like demons or like ghosts and that type of stuff, because I feel like on a personal level sometimes I have seen a couple like ghosts or figures of stuff, so dead stuff or stuff that can come and do exorcisms, that type of stuff I don't like, because it's just more real and it's kind of scary. I don't like the doll movies or the like that type of stuff, because I have dolls and stuff in my house and I don't want anything looking at me coming to kill me or anything like that. But I'll enjoy to watch them. If people like to watch scary movies, I just weirdly enough prefer to watch them like in the daytime. Like if there's a scary movie going on in the daytime, I'll watch it. But at night, it kind of just sticks too much, and then I'm having nightmares. So I'm not for me. But they're fun. I like them. I like all the Michael Myers movies and all that, Jason, Freddy Krueger, all that. But you kind of know they're fake. Like Michael's not gonna come knock at your door and kill you, but you know, Chucky can't. I'm just kidding. No, just like the Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Insidious movies. I've liked how they've
So
done, and they have that new one that I want to watch as well. But now just seeing like the whatever it was, the demon or monster that they show the preview, and he's like in the MRI scanning thing. Oh no, I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to watch this movie because as wrestlers, we got to go to the hospital, we got to get MRIs, CAT scans, all that, and I'm like, that's scary. But it was good. It looked like a good movie, so maybe I'll watch it.
it's actually pretty good. I went and
Okay.
saw it. Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it.
Okay, I'll watch it then, but I gotta watch it in the daytime when I can watch a bunch of other stuff before I go to bed. So I definitely want to watch it, but it has to be daytime.
Okay. And if you were doing a karaoke song, what would be your song you would want to sing?
My go-to, okay. This would be my go-to if I had a better voice. We had a show in Atlantic City, and we always do karaoke in Atlantic City.
Oh,
So, and Austin Gunn got on stage, and man, hats off to him. He did Friends in Low Places. I got Friends in Low Places. That is one of my favorite songs. That is actually one of the top karaoke songs. If I could sing well, kind of, sort of, that would be like my top song. But majority of the time when I do karaoke, I know a lot of the lyrics for some reason of like Usher songs. So I'll do
yeah.
like Usher songs. If I gotta hype up the crowd, I'll do Spice Girls. I'm trying to think what else. I did Chris Stapleton, Tennessee Whiskey in Atlantic City. Wasn't my best. But I just like to hype people up. So whenever we do karaoke, everyone just has such a blast at that time that if people start doing songs that have like dancing, I'm like, you need a backup dancer. Sometimes they say yes, and then I'll go there and I'll backup dance and stuff. But majority of them is probably Spice Girls and Usher sometimes.
That was funny. You said Austin Gunn. I was a couple years ago. I was on the Jericho cruise, and they did karaoke there, and Austin Gunn hosted the karaoke, and he sang, and surprisingly, Ab- Abaddon sang too.
Oh yeah, she came. I begged her to come to the last Atlantic show we had. She came to do karaoke. Man, she can go. She did zombies. I still get chills. She did so good. She got in her head and like no, I'm like, girl, she can. Yeah, I love watching Abaddon do karaoke. So good.
I was surprised that voice came out of her because you're used to her as this like evil character, and that voice comes out, and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. She did. I believe she did that time, and maybe Evanescence. I could be wrong, but she killed it. Absolutely killed it. Yeah, she has a great voice.
I know.
Shocking, right? We never see her talk or say anything, and then whoosh, the magic comes out when she opens her mouth and sings. Yeah, she's really good.
And what's your favorite dish to bake? Like you say, you love, you're a chef, you love bacon. Is there like a specialty that you have?
No, I usually do a lot of like funfetti cake. I have done red velvet cake, of course, cannot not do that. Red velvet cake. I do a lot of brownies. I love doing cookies. Um, I've done cupcakes as well. I bake a lot of like desserts. I want to learn how to do the carrot cake because carrot cake is actually one of my top favorite cakes. I want to learn how to
Nice.
make carrot cake. And I want to learn because baking is baking either way. It doesn't have to be desserts. I want to learn how to make bread because I love bread. So I haven't gotten to it. I'm pretty sure I can do it. I just haven't had the time or gone around to do it. But I definitely want to make bread because I love
Okay.
bread. But I
And
just
like,
bake anything dessert wise. I like to bake it. Baking is easy, and I think it's very structured. I'm a very structured person, so if I got the measurements, I got everything. It's just kind of easy to do it. Cooking takes more like it does still take measurements, but it's just you really got to cook with love. Like baking, you can kind of bake something quick and it'll always be good, but food you have to take a little
okay.
more time for it. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to cook a lot of meals because I love food. So I was like, might as well dedicate my time to learning how to make those foods at home. So that's been like my new project. Just, okay, I
Oh,
want this, or like I'm craving this. Let me just buy this stuff and make it at home because it just tastes better. Like, yeah, everyone loves to order pizza or order out or tacos and everything, but just when you make it at home, you would love. So it's always good.
Oh, nice. Okay. And lastly, is where can fans follow you at?
Fans can follow me. A lot of them follow me on Facebook, guys. I'm sorry. I think I've hit like the max on Facebook, and I'm not ever really on Facebook. Um, just mainly families on Facebook. So we'll put Facebook to the side. You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's L8_Red Velvet. Twitter, I believe, is the THEE_red_velvet. I'm not on Twitter as much, or X, however it's called now. I'm not on there as much because people aren't as nice on Twitter. So mainly just Instagram. They can Instagram. I'm on Cameo, so if anyone wants, now school has started, those type of videos, or I've been waiting for someone to make me do a breakup video Cameo. I want to break up with somebody's significant other. I've heard people could do it. I want to do it. That sounds like fun. So if you guys watch this, you have your significant other or somebody you want to break up with, or not go on a date with them and you can't do it, like, call me up. I'll do it. I think that'll be fun. I don't want to break anybody's heart though, but I would think
Well,
of people.
well, I saw you doing some TikToks too. Like you when you did like a couple TikToks with Sunny
Sunny.
Kiss and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, they can follow me on TikTok as well. I have to look back and see what my TikTok handle is. I haven't done it as much as well, but I did have a signing with Kiera recently, and we filmed a TikTok. So I gotta ask her when we want to put that out there. But yeah, they can follow me on TikTok as well. I have to put some new stuff in there, but they can follow me on TikTok as well. I think it might just be L8_Red Velvet. But if you type in Red Velvet, my face will pop up. Maybe. Yes, Instagram and TikTok, they can follow me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time and doing this, and I hope to see you on AEW television very soon.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. Whenever this comes out, you can send it over to me, guys. Subscribe to his channel, follow him on Instagram. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for making it happen even during your working hours. I appreciate that.
Definitely. It was really fun meeting you, I'll, you're going to be at Wrestle Bash over the weekend. I'm actually going to that.
Oh, nice. Okay. If you see my table, come by. I'd love to take a picture with you and have a chat with you over there. And yes, guys, if you see this before Sunday, I will be at Wrestle Bash in New Jersey. Stop by.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a great Friday and weekend.
Thank you. You too. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.